Hello, hello, hello. Why am I on here? Let me see. Hi, I'm going to read some public domain poetry. That's right. Yes, it's consider it my fireside chat edition of public domain poetry. I got Bogey there by phony campfire, and that's it's always a nice scene. And this is a quieter room. It's less crowded, more cold. It's very cold out. Very, 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 very cold. But that's why I have that light on to imply warmth. But this room has virtually no heat in it. So I'm drinking my traditional tepid black coffee, which is going to be ice cold soon. Wonderful. I'm not going to say the brand. I don't have any sponsors or nothing. Um, I read. Oh, that wasn't that. No, it wasn't Butler Yeats. Yates. I'll figure out Keats. No, it wasn't Keats either. It was. That's a sign of age, isn't it? Who did I read? Robert Lee Frost. That's right. But now I want to read William Blake. William Blake, who was not taught to me. I pretty sure no professor or teacher ever taught me that. Um, that is not to my shame because that's their problem. But I'm making up for their deficiencies in my education. And it's good to reach a point where you feel like you do have to make up those deficiencies on your own time. Um, you you reach the point where you just say, you know what, I feel like I missed out on stuff a lot. And I'm not the type of person who's like, oh, I want to get wind shear from jumping out of an airplane. Yeah, skydiving stuff. No, I'm not doing to that. It's not a bucket list type thing. Although reading William Blake is a bucket list type thing. And frankly, I am still too young to be thinking bucket lists. But you never know these days. We live in changing times. So, William Blake. Um, William Blake is, well, frankly, some of these I've never read before. Um, I've actually never seen them before. But William Blake is very easy to read. And of the poems or the poets that I've read so far, which is basically one, um, his is the most like, well, compared to Frost, there's the one. It is more like music when you hear it. And poetry is meant to be heard. It's a lesson I learned way back. Well, I guess it was the first time I tried to improve myself in terms of education on my own terms. It was I think my sophomore year of high school, and I was just fed up. I just hated school. I hated what they were teaching me, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to read Shakespeare. Why not? I'm going to read Shakespeare. So I read Shakespeare. Well, not really. I just took The Merchant of Venice out of the school library. And I felt all, kind of special. I was like, oh, look at this. I have Shakespeare here. And nobody cared. I mean, come on. It was the era of grunge rock. So nobody really cared about anything except Courtney Love's bad perms or whatever. If she had perms. I'm not casting aspersions. Anyway, I had like The Merchant of Venice. And I'm looking at it and I can't make heads or tails of what I was reading. I had to check footnotes every third word. I couldn't imagine a scene. I couldn't imagine the voices, the characters. I couldn't imagine anything. I just looked at the cover after I gave up. And I gave up, and it was in short order. And I realized decades later that I had to be seeing and hearing what I was reading as opposed to just sitting there and reading it. And that's what I always hated about, English class. The professors didn't understand that. It's a visual medium, plays, and it's poetry is an audio medium. It's sound and vision. You have to hear it and you have to see it. You can't just sit there and read it because then it sounds like you're just sitting and reading a tech manual or how to make this microphone work, which I hope is working. I take nothing for granted. I'm not the most tech savvy man in the world. Anyway, I'm 5 minutes in and I'm going to start reading some William Blake here. I'm going to start with his most famous poem. I think it's his most famous poem. See, William Blake, I only know basically from references in movies and some TV shows. A character brings up like one of his poems without actually, we're knowing a line from it, or just saying a line. I don't know why they didn't say a line. It's public domain. Anyway, even then, "The Tiger" by William Blake. This is probably his most famous poem. And just imagine what you're seeing is very warm, very inviting. Bogey's just hanging out there. He's going to be good. It's extremely cold outside, but it's very warm in here. It's cold. It's icy. It's more icy than I think it's been in on years, frankly. Bad memories of ice. I mean, I've had instances where I mean, it's just bad memories. I mean, I can tell you about. I mean, even now. I mean, today I had to ride the bike, just a bicycle up and down outside on ice and on the snow, and I got to be real careful because I don't really have any kind of protection aside from my body mass, I guess, my bulk here, and and that does have a certain cushioning effect. It really does. It is a good thing. I did not fall, but if I did fall, I would feel very confident that I was going to be cushioned by my girth, as they say. Well, girth implies other things, but I shouldn't mean that in that way. Um, I mean, I'll explain girth in this way. I mean, I can tell you, well, I was young. I was a young guy once. I really was. My voice was basically the same, maybe a little more nasally and nerdy. I used to be told I sounded like Kermit the Frog, which I never really got over. Yeah, that hurt. Um, I was trying to get to the bus stop, and I was late, trying to get out of bed. I don't know why. I don't eat breakfast. There's not much excuse for that, and there wasn't really any line for the bathroom. I guess there's only one bathroom in that house, and the bus stop was a block away, and I had to really get moving through some like back woods areas. Almost seems like I'm not talking like I had to walk backwards through 3 feet of snow. I did have to cut through a neighbor's backyard to get to the bus stop, and that was over a block away. And well, I had their permission. We were all the neighbors were friendly in that neighborhood. It's why they call it the neighborhood. And I was trying to get down there, and there's like a one street away, and I can see it coming. I just got through the backyard there, and I could see the one street away. It's got kind of sloping down a little bit, and it's asphalt, and there's black ice, and I don't really recognize the black ice when I'm late because I see the bus down the street ahead of me. It looks like it's stopping. I hope it is. I hoped it was. And I see the bus there, and the bus driver, I think, sees me. I mean, the bus driver is used to seeing me come down the street at some point, usually slow, usually fast. I'm not usually late. And I'm running, and I saw my sneaker, my left sneaker. It was perfect. It was a perfect image. It's embedded in my head. I can see it now. Gray, bit dirty. Why was I have such dirty shoes? Kind of tattered. I mean, I can only vaguely remember the odor, but I don't want to. And it was just a perfect image of that sneaker in my head. If the sneaker and with my foot in it was over my head, it was over my head, maybe 6 inches over my head when I noticed it, and it was the most amazing thing I ever saw. Was seeing my sneaker with my foot in it that far over my head, stretched out in front of me because I was my feet were just gone. They just left me, and I was just airborne for a moment. And then I just felt myself crash down, and my body, being what it is, protected my spine from any kind of long term damage. Basically, I just fell on my my girthy butt, as I might say, and I was quick to get up. I was more like still thinking I got to get to school, and the bus driver just stopped and was wondering if I was dead, and I wasn't dead. I didn't splatter or anything, but I got up and I continued to run, and she saw me. I mean, I was running on the not black ice parts. I wasn't even paying attention to that really. But I got there quick, and she said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" It's like, "Yeah, I was fine. I mean, I wasn't, going to talk so, much about it because I was just still in awe of seeing my shoe like that. But she saw I was okay, and I was okay, and that was that. And I never really brought it up until now. Just to point that if I fell down riding the bike out there, I would be all right because I'm kind of girthy, and it would have been okay. It's good to get exercise anyway, isn't it? Even on snowy, icy days like this. But I digressed about way too long there, and I think it's about time I start reading William Blake, assuming this phone still has battery power left. The Tiger by William Blake. Tiger. It's a more of a Vietnam. I remember Apocalypse Now with the tiger. Again, it's a warm idea, and it's very cold out. Tigers. There's not many tigers, I guess, in cold climates. The Tiger by William Blake. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, and what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what the dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? The Tiger by William Blake. And something that I noticed that in these public domain poems or poems or poetries and these poets, they tend to mention God. I mean, that's like the focal point. Our years are kind of revolving. Our year is revolved around the birth of God, of Christ, anyway. And that's like a focal point to some of these poems. And William Blake is no exception because he, during the, I guess it's a second last stanza or verse, he's talking about God with a capital H, with he smiles his work to see, same to person or it to make a lamb made thee, something so innocent and quiet. And I guess lambs can be kind of quiet and innocent, and tigers can be kind of hungry and vicious. And I guess that's the point of that part of the poem. So expect a lot of God in these early poems. I hate to think that's why they don't teach them much anymore, but who knows? It's in the context of the time. That's the point of reading this stuff. You have to have a sense of history, not necessarily biographical history, but that once upon a time, this is how they wrote poems for entertainment, not necessarily to be studied. I'm not a studier. I just like to read this stuff and learn from it, and learn about it. So that was the Tiger. I'm going to read it again in case I botched it up a little too much the last time. I don't think I did, but sometimes I do. And I will get to some that I have never read before or even really glanced at. So I will definitely have trouble with those. Okay, The Tiger by William Blake. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? What distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? What wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, and what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Okay, that's one there. That's not so bad. From the Tiger to the Fly by William Blake. And who would win that battle? I think the fly, personally. I don't think a tiger would be too bothered with a fly. Unless it's a little cat. A little cat will eat a fly for fun. Mean little cats, you know? It's a sport. I mean, they have to be young. Once they get older, they can't be bothered. But when they're young, they're like, oh, that's food. And they get it, and they eat it. And then you wonder what happens. And then you wonder, well, do you really want to be licked later by a cat? I don't. It feels like sandpaper anyway. The Fly by William Blake. And I got a few to get through, but these are short, and I'm not going to talk for 2 hours because, frankly, I don't think I have the battery life on this phone or the memory space. These videos tend to be kind of large. I'm not a techie person. I'll do my best. I'm not an editor. I just got Bogey there. Bogey's no help. He just stares at me. Little hands, little coat, big head, big ego. Anybody with a big head like that has got a big ego. The Fly by William Blake. Little fly, the summer's play, my thoughtless hand has brushed away. Am not I a fly like thee, or art not thou a man like me? For I dance and drink and sing, till some blind hand shall brush my wing. If thought is life, and strength and breath, and the want of thought is death, then am I a happy fly, if I live or if I die. We are as meaningless as flies in the world of the scope of the universe. It's very good to put yourself in a proper perspective. We are a mere speck in the universe. This whole planet is. And we are mere specks on a speck in a universe. So pay your bills and just be happy because I guess we're just not that very important, are we? I'll read it again. The Fly by William Blake. Little fly, thy summer's play, my thoughtless hand has brushed away. Am not I a fly like thee, or art not thou a man like me? For I dance and drink and sing till some blind hand shall brush my wing. If thought is life, and strength and breath, and the want of thought is death, then am I a happy fly, if I live or if I die. The Fly by William Blake. And what do we got here? Night by William Blake. As you can see, it is night. I have the blinds open, and I don't know what's out there aside from the cold. It's extremely cold. Snow, ice, bad. I have long johns on. It's also cold in here. Despite that light, it gives off no heat. It's cruel. I don't like being mocked of by electricity like this. Night by William Blake. The sun descending in the west, the evening star does shine. The birds are silent in their nest, and I must seek for mine. The moon, like a flower in heaven's high bower, with silent delight, sits and smiles on the night. Farewell, green fields and happy grove, where flocks have ta'en delight, where lambs have nibbled, silent move, the feet of angels bright. Unseen thy poured blessing, and joy without ceasing, on each bud and blossom, and each sleeping bosom, or bosom, one of those two. They look in every thoughtless nest, where birds are covered warm. They visit caves of every beast, to keep them all from harm. If they see any weeping that should have been sleeping, they pour sleep on their head and sit down by their bed. When wolves and tigers howl for prey, they pitying stand and weep, seeking to drive their thirst away and keep from them from the sheep. But if they rush dreadful, the angels most heedful receive each mild spirit, new worlds to inherit. And there the lion's ruddy eyes shall flow with tears of gold, and pitying the tender cries, and walking round the fold, saying wrath by his meekness, and by his health sickness, are driven away from our immortal day. And now beside thee, bleeding lamb, I can lie down and sleep, or think on him who bore thy name, graze after thee and weep. For washed in life's river, my bright mane forever shall shine like the gold as I guard o'er the fold. Night by William Blake. Now, that's a poem I can't analyze. Frankly, I can't analyze. I don't feel like I have the time to do it for personally. 'Cause there's several of these here, but some poetry doesn't need to be analyzed. Isn't that a radical thought? It doesn't have to be analyzed. It can just be appreciated for being like a song. And this is like a song. Poetry is music with words. Music with words. If someone gives you a song book, you can stare at the notes on the page and think you can hear the darn thing, but you can't hear anything. It's just there, it's just notes on the page. These are just words on the page until somebody says them, which is why I'm doing this. This stuff is meant to be heard, not meant to be read. So I'm not going to analyze the specifics of this poem. I'm just going to read it once again. And hopefully I don't butcher it, but I'm not promising anything. I'm going to take a sip of cold black coffee just in case. I take that back. Iced coffee. It is cold in here. Night by William Blake. The sun descending in the west, the evening star does shine. The birds are silent in their nest, and I must seek for mine. The moon, like a flower in heaven's high bower, with silent delight, sits and smiles on the night. Farewell, green fields and happy grove, where flocks of tame delight, where lambs have nibbled silent move, the feet of angels bright. Unseen they pour blessing, and joy without ceasing, on each bud and blossom, in each sleeping bosom. They look in every thoughtless nest, where birds are covered warm. They visit caves of every beast, to keep them all from harm. If they see any weeping, that should have been sleeping, they pour sleep on their head, and sit down by their bed. When wolves and tigers howl for prey, they pitying stand and weep, seeking to drive their thirst away, and keep them from the sheep. But if they rush dreadful, the angels most heedful receive each mild spirit new worlds to inherit. And theirs the lion's ruddy eyes shall flow with tears of gold, and pitying the tender cries, and walking round the fold, saying wrath by his meekness and by his health sickness are driven away from our immortal day. And now beside the bleeding lamb I can lie down and sleep, or think on him who bore thy name, graze after thee and weep. For washed in life's river, my bright mane forever shall shine like the gold as I guard o'er the fold. That's a good one, if I may say so. What do we got here? One, two, oh, there's a few more here. I gotta find what I'm going to read here. Oh, let's see here. Oh, there's pages everywhere. And nothing to read. I take that back. There's two more. The Sick Rose by William Blake. Now, this is probably my favorite because it's a scene. It's a poem with a scene, which means it has a scene. You can see it. It's got a good scene. It's like a like a almost like an action scene if you're into like nature videos, And just imagine this is a nature video, as I say. I'll describe it after because it's really short, but I'll get into this one. I mean, this one actually makes me kind of, like, wow, look at that. And it's a really neat kind of poem with a neat scene. The Sick Rose by William Blake. We can imagine the color of the rose. It doesn't really say red, pink, or whatever. O rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy. In his dark secret love does thy life destroy. That's it. That's the whole poem. I'll say it again. O rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy. In his dark secret love does thy life destroy. What does that say to me? Big storm, howling, ooh, scary, thunder, lightning. It's dark out. It's rain. It's not like cold out now. It's like a hot thunderstorm in the middle of the summer. It's really sunny and humid like crazy all day, and then night comes and this big violent thunderstorm comes, and the rain's coming down like these awful sheets of rain. You can just see it just filling up the night, and it's all going into the ground like inches over every hour, and what's filling up the soil, and these worms are desperately trying to get out of the soil so they don't drown, so they just start getting onto the surface. And they're getting up, and they're clawing up out of their little homes, and they're flooded out, and they're going in this one worm. Most of the worms, they just get up out of the ground, and then they get stuck on like pavement or concrete or something, and they drown there, and you just find them dead in the morning. It's really depressing. But this worm was really daring. He had a lot of vitamins in him or something, a lot of nutrients in the soil, I guess, for worms. And he climbs up, and he finds this branch, or I don't know that to describe parts of a rose bush, but it goes up this rose bush, and it's whirling around the thorns, and it climbs and climbs. It's trying to get shelter from the rain, and it climbs and it finds a rose on the rose bush. Imagine that. And it goes inside the rose bush for shelter. I mean, not in the rose bush, but in the rose itself, and finds shelter in the petals. And it really makes that rose look kind of sick, having a worm, dirty and stuff, rolled up inside it. So the rose is not only drooping from the rain, it's got a worm hiding inside it, like an apple, that kind of thing. But it's a great action sequence if you're into nature videos. And who isn't? I saw this one today with alligators. I mean, they were all kind of just hanging out by this lake pool, and this guy's running around trying to get them into the pool, and some of them looked at him as they got their teeth all out, rah, and real scary stuff. But he survived, and the alligators went in the pool, and everybody was happy. I liked it anyway. I'm not really giving this story much justice. You have to see these things, but you can see that poem, because that was not some video I saw. That was something described from a poem. Never seek to tell thy love. This is another one I like to read quick, and I think I understand this one. Never seek to tell thy love by William Blake. Never seek to tell thy love that never told can be, for the gentle wind does move silently, invisibly. I told my love, I told my love, I told her all my heart, trembling cold and ghastly fears as she doth depart. Soon as she was gone from me, a traveller came by, silently, invisibly. Oh, was no to nigh. What does that mean? Well, the key to love, and it's the downside of being in love, really, is that when you're in love, you're kind of always afraid, because part of you always knows that everything must end. I mean, in some way. And I mean, part of me knows that. And if when I'm really, when I let it kind of be like a quiet life, but I've been in love before. And when you're in love, you really, you know, part of you knows that something, someday it just may end, and there's nothing you could do about it. And that second verse, I told my love, I told my love, I told her all my heart, trembling cold and ghastly fears as she doth depart. Trembling cold and ghastly fears as she depart. The protagonist of the poem knows that she's going. But as soon as she was gone from me, a traveler came by silently and visibly. Oh, was no deny. One goes, one comes back. A stranger. Until you know them, and then you're in love with them. Then you're scared of them. I mean, then you're scared of losing them. Not scared of them, because you can't be in love with something you're afraid of, are you? No, that doesn't make any sense, does it? I can ask Bogey that. He's lost, well, his characters in Casablanca. He lost her, but that was a worse movie, well, anyway. So they say. Well, anyway, I'll read it again. Never Seek to Tell Thy Love by William Blake. Never seek to tell thy love, love that never told can be, for the gentle wind does move silently, invisibly. I told my love, I told my love, I told her all my heart, trembling cold and ghastly fears, as she doth depart. Soon as she was gone from me, a traveler came by, silently, invisibly, oh, was no deny. And that's the story of love. It moves silently, invisibly, it just creeps up on people, which is a nice thought. I can't say it's happened to me, but, well, not recently anyway, but I really don't mind. What do we got here? Here's one of the three William Blake poems I've never seen before in my life. And I might have to censor myself at some point, but I doubt it. And if I do, I'll make a strange noise like, yeah! So that's going to be the noise I might have to make to censor my words. They are going to be taken out of context, which means I have to censor them to take them out of context. Because they're not meant to be offensive. I'm now speaking too fast. That's the black coffee in me. Highly caffeinated. I'm having a sip now. I'll have a tracer of a full glass of water later. Maybe that will even it out. A Dream by William Blake. As I said, I've never seen this before, so bear with me. Once a dream did weave a shade o'er my angel guarded bed, that an emmet lost its way, where on grass methought I lay. Troubled, wildered, and forlorn, dark, benighted, travel worn, over many a tangled spray, all heart broke, I heard her say, "Oh, my children, do they cry? Do they hear their father sigh? No, they look abroad to see, now return and weep for me." Pitying, I dropped a tear, but I saw a glow worm near, who replied, "What wailing wight calls the watchman of the night? I am set to light the ground, while the beetle goes its round. Follow now the beetle's hum, little wanderer, hie thee home." Now, with a poem like that, and I can't make heads or tails out of the scene here, I just have to just go back to the title. I have to look at the type of poems that the author has written before, and try to make heads or tails out of what he's writing now. And dreams aren't really meant to be analyzed, not all of them. And this is just a dream. I mean, I could tell you a dream I had where I have very, very boring dreams. Very boring, very tiring. No, not tiring, but just very dull dreams. Like I could. Well, the dreams that make me nervous are the ones where I'm going to the bathroom in them. And those are the ones I remember the most because I end up having. I have to wake myself up saying, "Okay, I had that dream. Is my bed wet or not? No? Okay, I better get up anyway." That kind of dream. And that's the kind of dreams that stick with me. I mean, I have those dreams quite a bit, actually. And the irony is when I wake up from them, I don't really feel like I have to go to the bathroom. What kind of Freudian message is that? Part of me knows I'm going to have to go to the bathroom, but I don't necessarily have to physically go. I guess the moral of the story is never pass up another opportunity to use the bathroom. A Dream by William Blake. Once a dream did weave a shade o'er my angel guarded bed, then an emmet lost its way, where on grass methought I lay. Troubled, wildered, and forlorn, dark, benighted, travel worn, over many a tangled spray, all heart broke, I heard her say, "Oh, all my children, do they cry? Do they hear their father sigh? Now they look abroad to see. Now return and weep for me. Pitying, I dropped a tear, but I saw a glowworm near, who replied, "What wailing wight calls the watchman of the night? I am set to light the ground while the beetle goes his round. Follow now the beetle's hum, little wanderer, hie thee home." That's a poem with quotations in it, so there's a little bit of dialogue going on. So I'm not there, and I didn't have the dream, so I'm just going to leave that one to go for now, and I'm just going to go on to this one, which I also never read before, but it's only 3 lines, so it's going to go quick. In fact, the title is one of the lines, so this is going to go quicker than you even think. The Angel That Presided O'er My Birth by William Blake. The angel that presided o'er my birth said, "Little creature formed of joy and mirth, go love without the help of anything on earth." That's it. In other words, don't be codependent. Don't find happiness in other things. Find happiness through just being happy. Go watch a sunset. You just think, oh, look, there's a sunset. Just relax. Watch the sunset. Don't look in the sun. Don't be an idiot. But I mean, just or just watch a cloud pass by and imagine it's the shape of a, I don't know. Actually, I'm not really good at imagining shapes of clouds. And nowadays, people just post them on computers and they're all fake. Like I saw someone make a uh, a cloud of out of like a woman's torso, and I was like, oh, that's really crass. But it was obviously it had to be fake. I mean, nature's not that funny. The angel that presided over my birth, or my birth. O apostrophe er. Back in the day when they used to have strange, uh, what's that word? Contractions. The angel that presided o'er my birth said, "Little creature formed of joy and mirth, go love without the help of anything on earth." Go love without the help of anything. That's the only thing I can make out of that is just don't be codependent. Find love just by finding love. Who trusts angels anyway? I don't know. Laughing Song by William Blake. This is the last one. So, Laughing Song. This implies humor. It's going to be, I guess, like 18th century humor. So this is going to be fun. I guess it's 19th century. I don't really know William Blake's era. I guess I ought to at least know that, but I don't. Laughing Song by William Blake. And I never read this before. When the green woods laugh with the voice of joy, and the dimpling stream runs laughing by, when the air does laugh with our merry wit, and the green hill laughs with the noise of it, when the meadows laugh with lively green, and the grasshopper laughs in the merry scene, when Mary and Susan and Emily, with their sweet round mouths, sing, "Ha ha he!" When the painted birds laugh in the shade, where our table with cherries and nuts is spread, come live and be merry, and join with me to sing the sweet chorus of "Ha ha he." Okay, this is more of a poem about laughing as opposed to being a poem that's actually funny. Okay. There is funny poems. I'm going to read them. This is not one of them. I just want to point that out. There is a poet that is very good at being very humorous. He wrote a poem about wine, and I guess I don't know if he was a wino, but this is not a funny one. I'll read it again, just to read it again. Laughing Song by William Blake. When the green woods laugh with the voice of joy, and the dimpling stream runs laughing by, when the air does laugh with our merry wit, and the green hill laughs with the noise of it, when the meadows laugh with lively green, and the grasshopper laughs in the merry scene, when Mary and Susan and Emily, with their sweet round mouths, sing "Ha ha he!" When the painted birds laugh in the shade, where our table with cherries and nuts is spread, come live and be merry and join with me to sing the sweet chorus of "Ha ha he! Ha ha he!" That's a quote in the poem. That's not me doing that because I don't think anyone does ha ha he. It's like people saying pow. People don't say pow much anymore. Or bam. Bam. You know, Flintstones, bam bam. Well, that's the William Blake stuff there. Um, Everybody's laughing in the poem, and it's a nice. It's like all of these William Blake poems. They're more like just songs. I mean, it's like trying to like analyze like the meaning of a Led Zeppelin song, like a song called "The Cringe" by Led Zeppelin. I don't know what they're talking about with the confounded bridge at that. I mean, I don't really want to dig too deep into the meaning of a lot of those songs for good reason. I just want to listen to them and enjoy, and that's the point of poetry to a large extent. Listen and enjoy. Don't have to overanalyze. It wasn't written for that purpose. It was meant to be entertainment. It would be like analyzing a game show today. It's meant to be entertaining. You're not going to sit there and just decide, well, this family on Family Feud is a member of a blah 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 and blah 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 and blah 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 blah, and then 5,000 word dissertation later, blah 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 blah. No, no, no. It's entertainment. Be entertained. Enjoy. Be happy. With no help from anything on earth. Like the angel said, go. Enjoy. I'm going to go right now. Finish my coffee. Drink some water. Have a good night.